So here's the current status of the high school. It's doing pretty well from considering where we were in September. It moved up pretty fast. The walls came up really fast because we had all the materials for it. If you remember, we here or they made all of these bricks right here in site. There was a guy constantly stamping bricks, so they were able to actually have a direct, constant feed of materials. So aside from that, the other materials that they needed were some of the sand and rocks, as you may see in the back, and also the concrete that needed to be purchased. And then when the walls came all the way up to the top point, to make the roof or ceiling, they needed to use those pieces of lumber up there that you see. They call it timber here, but that's what creates the cast for where they're gonna drop the concrete. That's the goat that is trying to also explain what's going on. So forgive him. So anyway, so here's the problem. They run into a wood or lumber shortage. There is currently a situation in Uganda in which the government is putting a lot of restrictions on lumber commerce, and there's a lot of people that are bringing lumber illegally from different places like Congo, and also just illegally cutting wood in places that they're not allowed to. And so the Army of Forestry, or the Forestry Army, has an operation going in which they're just basically stopping any truck that goes on the highway with to see if they have lumber, and if they do, they check for permits, and if they don't have permits, that wood stops right there. This has created scarcity, and scarcity has doubled the prices. As a result of that, they weren't able to buy enough, or if you look, there's not really a lot of lumber to complete one classroom. As an engineer was trying to explain to me that they were trying to even try to complete it one classroom at a time, and it wasn't enough. So the lumber has been purchased, the order was put in, they just don't have the actual materials come to them. I'm gonna move to another place. So as you can see, the walls, as I mentioned, are up. The lumber for the roofing is in the process of, it's already installed, basically ready for the last batch of lumber, so they can actually start casting the concrete. So what the engineer explained to me is that what they are trying to do at this point is use the wood that they actually do have. And so, for example, right here on this column concrete, they're stamping out the columns, or what he calls casting out the columns. So they use this lumber to enclose where the column goes. They drop the concrete mix, and they let the column dry. He said 7 days, a week. This one particular one is on day number 4, and as soon as this piece comes out, they're using the very same exact part, a piece of lumber, and they go into the next column, probably this corner that needs the lumber to actually cast the column. And so that's the process they've been following on this while we don't have the lumber to actually do the work. They're using the lumber that they do have to do work that can be done around it. So let's step into this one classroom that has some lumber put in place. Careful not to touch anything. I want this to follow me. And so I personally don't know how they construct roofs, but I can see what's going on here. I think a friend like Rob could probably get a better idea and know exactly what's going on here. This lumber is there and it's incomplete. What that should have, it should have a U channel, much like this. As you can see, it has a U channel, an incomplete U channel, where it's going to receive the concrete, and eventually that's going to turn into a roof. Like I mentioned, it's a combination of that lumber as well as iron bars and concrete, and that will make the roof. This is classroom. This is Henry. Which classroom is this? Is this number 1?
This is senior 1.
Senior 1. So this is where the first students are going to come when we do open in May. Senior 1. That's the first grade of, as we would call, freshmen. All right. Let's move on to the next. So I'm not going to spend too much time here, but just sort of show the column construction. So this is lumber that they do have and is available for them to do this. Another thing the engineer explained to me very clearly was that this lumber they're using is not the cheapest lumber either. The construction material that they need to use to make sure that that is done correctly is stronger. It can sustain better weight. I guess my assumption is it's probably thicker as well, but as a result of that, it's also more expensive. And he explained to me that any lesser quality of lumber or timber would break and would deteriorate with the concrete. And so when he was saying that when they put the concrete in and they receive the weight and they actually use the vibrator to take the bubbles out, the air bubbles out, in their experience, the other types of lumber break, but this one is the correct one to do this. And they have time for some exercise. Let's see. We'll leave that for another day. How about you, Henry? No?
Hey, how you do?
And so this is it. This is gonna be senior two, and these two classrooms are going to be the classrooms that are going to start this high school in May. You're gonna do 3 as well?
Yeah, the district told me I'll do 3.
You got approved for 3 as well.
Yes.
Phenomenal. So then 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
Okay, Paul. So I'm gonna take a moment to explain. Maybe I'll flip this camera too. So I'll take a moment to explain, or we'll take a moment to explain a little bit about how the decision comes into like how to move forward. So if you go to villages outside of our location, like villages a little further remote, some of those schools don't require. Some people could get away with just putting walls up and calling it a school. As a matter of fact, I visited a new NGO a couple days ago in which that's exactly what they did. The man in charge is working really hard and cares a lot. He just doesn't have the time, 1.2 to 1.5 million shillings to have an engineer simply making plans.
That's like $400.
$400. For $400, you can put one of these walls up.
Yeah.
And so in our case, however, not only because we're closer to the center of the country or the cities, but also because we are building a nonprofit and NGO school, we have to do this right. He has to do this right because this is his NGO, and in our case, at Zero Future, we have to make sure that they're following plans that the engineers does. And as a result of that, the next step is that the local council has to approve it. Would you mind giving a quick explanation what local council is?
So the local council, if I equate it to the to the US, is like the federal government. Yeah, because here we use local. Every district has a local government that governs the district on behalf of the whole country. So the district does literally everything. Building, approving plans for buildings, water, everything. You cannot even construct a source of water without the district knowing about it. Otherwise, they will come. They have the powers. If you do not follow the rules, they have the powers to come and trash everything out because you've not followed the right steps. And me, I wanted to follow the right steps. That's why it has been expensive for me at first. The plans and the approval process and everything, because the district has to know. And this partly explains why they denied us the temporary operational permit. Because initially, if you have a classroom block and toilets and washrooms and quite a bigger compound, you are eligible for a temporary permit that runs for between 6 months and 1 year, depending on your progress. But this is on condition that I'm going to construct other amenities as we go further. So when we put in our request, the district came here and inspected, and they told us you are not ready because the toilets are not yet done. So we will deny your permit. And they sent me a letter around 2 days earlier. So, but they told me if I can have the first three stuff that they really need, a well completed classroom block, and toilets and washrooms, and maybe a source of water, I can start temporarily.
Yeah, and so it is a process. In a place like Uganda, like from our cultural understanding, one would think that you can get away with anything, right? Like they don't have rules, but they're very strict here. And like Henry said, they mean it when they can just come and like push these walls down. If you cross a man in the local government, they'll probably do that. Yeah. And so we're following the steps. He's following the steps, make sure everything is done correctly. Like you said, the letter came a couple days ago in which stated that they are Henry's looking at potentially getting approval for starting in May. May would be the second term of the school.
It will be the second term of the academic year. We have 3 terms in a year. I don't know how you call them in the US.
Semesters. We have 2, but like it's a term. They're basically a term.
Yeah. So here we call them terms basically. So we were given approval to start in May. That if at all we have what they asked us to complete.
Yep. This is all good news for a couple of reasons, because I was really worried and I asked Henry a lot of questions. My biggest concern, besides like the idea that we have to delay the project, that's a project. That's what happens. We all know about creep-in, so these things happen. But my concern was, will we be able to get students for the second term? Will students actually quit their schools and come enroll here? Mm-hmm. And the answer was loudly yes, because what we're offering here is a more economical education. There are 2 types of students that may be coming to the school. One, the ones that will easily drop their last school, and this happens often. Children change schools. I think they can change after the first semester, but not the last semester.
Yeah,
right?
Not the last semester. Yes.
And so they can, and that happens very often. In our other school, we have children wearing different schools uniforms
from their previous schools.
From their previous schools, yes. Exactly. Mm. So that's the first type, is the ones that they just ditch the expensive high school that the child probably has to walk 2 hours to get to.
Yeah, perhaps even some are home. They were not able to join.
And that was the type number 2. The second type of student is like they just can't afford going to that high school. And by the way, there's no government high schools, right? No. These are all private high schools in this region. And this is the reason, the driving force for starting Empathy High School. This is a nonprofit high school. However, it will have a tuition fee, but the tuition fee is going to be considerably lower.
It will be, how much did we count last time? $30?
About $30 a term, right? Which is what in shillings?
Yeah, shillings, 100,000.
100,000 per term, term. And what that, it translates that the regular, you keep moving. The regular high schools here charge somewhere upwards of 300,000 and maybe higher, depending on how good it is, even more per term, right? Yeah. So I think the cheapest one that you mentioned to me was about 200,000 per term.
Yeah, it was 200,000 per term.
And so
that is much to someone here.
There you go. So I took a moment just to kind of go through what the process is. I think the delay is I was being positive, and so was he, on remaining on time for February 3rd. But when things showed that this wasn't going to happen, the best option was to just kind of like eat this up and do better for these next few months. So May, when we open in May, it's going to be a much better infrastructure. All right, I'll move on. We'll get out of here. We're going to go visit that water. Okay, so this is actually looking back really quick. We have 3 classrooms. We visited the first S1, secondary one, senior one, senior 2, and this is the other one we didn't go into. But on this side, we have the side of the 4th classroom, which is going to be right here. And I found some really interesting information about why the walls aren't up. And of course, it has to do with the timber. And in the back side of there, next to that, what appears to be a large hole, is where the bathroom, or what they call the washrooms, are going to be. There's going to be toilets and sinks here for them to do their business and wash their hands. I asked about the pipes. The pipes go. This is not the bottom of the foundation. they still need to sink this in, and they're going to put the hard core on top, and inside of the hard core is going to be the running the pipes along here, and they're going to go out that way, and up to the septic tank that is back there, and we're going to visit that in a couple seconds. He didn't explain what this hole was.
This is a pillar. You have to put a pillar here, just the way you see this one here.
Oh yeah. So it's a column.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right, let's go look at this water. Oh, before I move, so this P4 classroom, the reason the walls, senior 4, thank you. Thank you. The senior 4 classroom, the reason the walls are not up is because they want to use the timber, of course the timber, in the best possible way. And so what they're doing is they're trying to hand in hand construct this in order, so they're able to like use the timber that they have over there into here. But they don't even have enough to finish over there. So it's, as soon as that timber comes, I imagine these walls are going to come up as fast as those did, and the ceiling and roof is going to be done. The funding for ceiling, roof, and walls is done. Everything on that is done. Everything on the water as well is done. And then the septic tank is missing some money, but and the other part that is missing is the desks and chairs. But what I wanted to note was the money for these walls and ceilings is not missing. So it's been fundraised and it's been paid to the engineers, but they halted to be able to actually to be able to nothing because they had no choice. All right, so this is the water tank or the water well. It's fully functional now. It's not fully it's not finished, but it's fully functional. And I was looking into here earlier, and I hope that you can also see the water. Maybe the sun is not letting, but there it goes. That's water. That's the engineer was telling me that this water well can produce up to 5,000 liters of water per day.
Not per day.
I think he said per day.
It is per pumping.
Per pumping.
Yes.
That's even a bigger deal. And so this is continuous water that is not going to run out anytime soon. In regards to this water, I always say the same words, and I make a point to repeat this. I can't imagine anything, and you guys know this, I can't imagine anything more important to provide children at a foundational support level than clean water. Because water is what carries disease, water is what carries viruses, and anything that prevents them from going to like a lower foundation on the ground where rain has covered and animals have already come and drank and pooped and everything, and then the children go with their yellow cans and pick up water. Anything that prevents them from doing that, I think that equals to saving lives. And you guys did that here on this water well. It's just. Sure, education is incredibly important, but I would probably venture to say that staying alive is probably the most important for them. And then we get them educated, right? That's all right. Sorry, I get off my soapbox, but this is super important, and I'm really grateful for you for making this happen. All right, let's go to the septic tank. I've almost fell twice in this. All right, so let's carefully move into here. This is what is going to be the future septic tank. It's what it's got. And the way this works, I have been explained, is that there are 3 sections in the septic tank. This larger section on the right here, this is the black water septic tank. The 2 smaller sections on that side, those are going to be the brown water septic tank. And the reason why they separated it this way is because brown water can actually be leached out into this field. And we went through the process of asking questions of like the distance between the septic tank and the water well over there. And per United Nations, my United Nations knowledge, it's supposed to be between 50 to 100 meters between one and the other. This is about 90 meters. And the other thing is that the other variable is the slope of the area that you're working with. And the slope, the water well sits at a higher slope than here. in if you go past this into the sugarcane fields, it actually dips. And so the only water from here that is going to be leached into this field is going to be the brown water. And the black water, poop and pee, is going to be tanked out or suctioned out into a tank after a certain amount of time. So this water here is not going to be leached into the field, only the brown water, which is, water, hand washing, or anything that goes from those brown water drains. Simple information here. This is one of the pieces that still needs to be completed, but there's already a lot of progress in there. And what's going to happen here is that once the walls come up, there's going to be a beam in the middle that is going to create the support. There's going to be a roof over this, or like a concrete top. Pipes are going to be put out. There's going to be multiple entries into the tanks from the bathrooms. Engineers said that there's going to be boys' bathroom on one side, girls' bathroom in the other, and the pipes are going to be off to the side of this. And this the ceiling of this tank is going to serve as the foundation for the larger bathroom or washroom building.
And the toilet. It's going to be the foundation of both toilets and washrooms.
Toilets and washrooms.
Yeah, and also doing this, we went a little off plan because the one on the plan was a little smaller. But then we thought we did it twice than that was on plan, because we thought it could save us a lot in a long run. Yeah.
Good choice. And there's so by the way, the engineering company that we're using, the engineer himself, his name is Brian. He's a really smart dude. He's been offering a lot of really great information. I'm gonna quickly take a video of this because there's their data. Karen Construction Company, your dreams to reality. Another thing that there's been a lot of thinking process on this. Another thing that they've done is the decision making for this went from, what are the pits called?
Pit latrines.
Pit latrines, which is like it's the most foundational bathroom making in Africa, in which they just dig a hole. They have to figure out first exactly where you put it and what the slope is. You have to have a distance. This is where the distance of 50 to 100 meters from a water source comes from. But it basically leaches everything, brown water and black water, into the field. And so that idea was ditched, but it is the most foundational bathroom construction in this area in East Africa, in the poor area of Africa, in which houses typically do that. The second option was a smaller size septic tank, but that meant that they would have to, not only what Henry said, but you would have to pump it every 3 months?
Every after 3 or 6 months.
Yeah. And constant in this money.
Yeah, and bringing just the car loan will cost you $1 million. That's an average of $300.
Just to bring the car.
Just to bring the car, to pump it out. Now you'll also pay where it's going to be dumped.
Yeah. And then the labor of like the
and then the labor.
Yeah.
So in overall, you can spend like $500 on every sack.
In one empty.
In one empty, and
Yeah.
that is quite much money here.
Yep. So this is going to help on reducing the amount of trips by having a bigger tank. Cost a little bit more money. Is one of the reasons why the budget for this particular piece has increased. It creeped on us. And purposefully, because they needed to do this for the long run. Let me see, am I forgetting something, Henry? So we talked about the classrooms, we talked about the water, we talked about the reason why we're stuck right now, which is interesting. The government does a lot of things here that they leave the people out of control. They can't do very many things, and this is one of them. What else?
Maybe
we talked about this. Yeah, would you talk to us about the fence?
Yeah, so initially we could also like to have a fence. So the fence that is mainly used, because if we say we are having that one that is to have it constructed, it is really very expensive.
Oh, made out of brick?
Yeah, made out of brick. So we have to make concrete blocks like that again, and then surround the whole of this place. But now that has a downside. Supposing tomorrow you wake up and you've extended up to there, you'll have to break all these walls and extend there. So there is a fence called chain link. each roll is about 150 US dollars each roll. So we,
How long is each roll? Do you know?
the engineer knows, but
Yeah.
it's quite longer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you buy, you get rolls, then you get poles. You can either make them out of concrete or metal, angle lines, angle bars. So you get angle bars. So you put that chain link on those angle bars, so across the whole school. So the good thing with that is that even if you wake up tomorrow and you've expanded up to there, you'll use the same angle lines.
You can reuse it, yeah.
You can reuse it, and the same fence to the other side.
Yeah.
So
The only thing I don't like about that is that it makes it look like a jail.
but that is how schools do
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so then after that fence around the whole where our land passes, we expect to have a gate there. The engineer told me that I'm going to show you the plan of how the gate could look like in case we have that opportunity to have it. It is really very beautiful. So the gate up front there, and then a fine link fence.
Yeah, chain link fence.
Yeah,
Chain link fence.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. So that was update number 2. It is today. It is the 2nd of January. Tomorrow, Henry and I are headed to 2 schools tomorrow. 2 government schools, primary grades that are going to be feeding the school in the near future. I'll get some pictures of that and send it to you guys. But we're going to be leaving enough materials to give 1,000 students in each school materials, notebooks, pencils, and basics to have at least, I hope 3/4 of the year with notebooks. They're going to need more. Children are children, but it's better. It's a lot better than having nothing. Lastly, that's it. That's all we got. Thank you so much, guys. I hope you. This is a lot of information, but a lot has happened, and we're really grateful to you. And thank you so much.
Yeah, perhaps we couldn't be here without you. I'm really grateful. We've made a lot of progress, and as well, we've tried to be economical to make sure any funding that comes in is extremely beneficial. So we strive to create something visible, because someone may say, okay, I sent you the money, but I'm not seeing anything visible. So we try to make that more visible by cutting the cost of production. For example, on bricks, on, you call them blocks. On blocks, we had to construct our own because blocks were extremely expensive. We couldn't afford them. So with that, we saved almost 40% of the price that they had told us as a company that makes blocks. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you again, guys. All right, Henry. I'm gonna click stop.
Okay.
Bye.